Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, December 20th, 2022. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. And I do hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. Hey, Brina, welcome. You're number one today. Frankie, number two. And Shelby, you are number three. Welcome. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. It is a beautiful day, cool day here in sunny Southern California. And to everyone over on any other streaming platform, welcome, welcome. And we're just going to let the music play out. Okay, let me stop this. Hey, Minnesota, welcome, welcome. Okay, so today, I want to talk about common sense. Oh boy. Some people think they have it, and nowadays you look around at people and say, really? And people are probably saying, they listen to this, or some of you all could be saying it. I don't know. Uh, Salad, you don't have common sense. You may not have common sense. How are you going to talk about other people having common sense? There are some people who just don't have it. Even some of the smartest people or people who think they're smart or whatever, they just don't have it. Um, I mean, there's just some things you just don't do. Some things you just know not to do. Um, some things you just don't say. Yes, we're all guilty of, things slip. We're talking, we say things, think things slip. Um, but when the same thing slips over and over, or just when, um, you're in a situation when there's just some things you just don't say, or even, if you say things to the wrong person. Exactly. When it says things that make you go, or I should say, or people, exactly. People that make you go, because, um, for me recently, I had to practice common sense when I realized that, for certain people, you just cannot say anything to. There are certain people that I have learned recently that some things I just cannot tell people because I don't think that they exercise common sense to, whatever. Black Cabinet Education, welcome. Black Ninja, welcome. So, and you see it more and more. You see it in high levels of government. You see it, with people who have authority. You see it, when I say authority, I'm talking about, for example, law enforcement. I don't think that they always have common sense. Some teachers, I don't think they have common sense. Some people in government, well, we already know a lot of them don't have common sense. But everyday people, just things that you just should not do. Something from, again, things that can be really, really simple to things that can have a huge impact and affect other people. And whether it affects them big or small, if it's affecting someone, again, just exercise common sense. So, I mean, do y'all think I'm wrong? You think I'm right? Because common sense, when you're around people who don't have it, sometimes it's really, really hard. I mean, have you ever worked with someone who didn't have common sense? And I don't mean, and I don't want to, use the word stupid, because I know some people say, well, people who don't have common sense are stupid. No, and I don't like calling people stupid, but there are stupid people. So let me ask this: if you consider someone stupid, does that mean they don't have common sense? If someone is not bright, I guess I should say that someone's not bright, does that mean they don't have common sense? Because then I go back to, you have a lot of people who are very, very bright. You can have someone who has, IQ of 200 and not be very bright in the common sense department. Just like, Shelby made a comment the other day about being street smart versus book smart. Does that mean that someone does not have common sense if they're not street smart, or you don't have common sense if you're not book smart? What do you consider common sense? And I do believe that common sense, if it's not used, if you don't have it, common sense can get someone hurt. Common sense can, common sense is a good sense and sound judgment in practical matters. That's the definition. I'll copy and paste. Now that's Google's definition. Now Brina says book smart doesn't automatically mean you have common sense. No, it doesn't. So that should be a good sense. Let me do that again. And hold on one second, guys. There we go. I did it again. All right. So, okay, what is the root of common sense? What is the root of common sense? Black Admit, you want to pop up? Because common sense is supposed to be someone practicing sound judgment, someone who has the ability to practice sound judgment, someone who has the ability to just know and understand. Do people know and understand? And we're talking about basic things, because to me, if you don't have a common sense, to me, you just don't have the basic understanding of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I mean, does common sense mean that you don't know the difference between right and wrong? People who are serial killers, do they not have common sense? So as Black Captain says, what is the root of common sense? Hey, Mama Bear, welcome. So Black Cabinet, welcome. You have the mic.
Thank you, my sister. What I was getting at is um, where the term common sense come from. Not the definition, but
Okay.
common sense. We're talking about the British government of common sense, the royal monarchy. Common sense was basically the sense of the common people, of the common folk, right? And it's talking about, do you have the commoner sense, the common sense of the monarchy of who they were, and that's where common sense actually comes from. And so, if people don't, if so, therefore you had your monarchy sense, but then you had commoner sense. So when a king had to make a certain judgment, he would say, "Well, would this be what the common people would do?" And if you're not common people, then you might not have common sense. You have to understand what would the common person do in a situation like that, and that is what would make it common sense.
Okay. So, but don't you think that over time, though, that way of thinking has changed? Because to me, common sense now is not what the common people would do. To me, it's just like, do you just have any sense at all?
Well, I agree with you. Nowadays, I think common sense has changed the definition, um, because common sense is, if you're cold, put on a coat before you go outside, or put on a sweater, something that's gonna make you warm. That would be like the common sense of day to day practices. But we're actually coming to find out that more than none, there's more people who lack common sense than actually have common sense. I think that's the biggest thing, when people don't react in a way that more 9 times out of 10 more common people react. That's where we find ourselves getting stuck and saying, why did they react like that? Do they lack common sense, or do they lack sense at all? Most people would actually do this in that situation. If a person drives off a bridge and there's a detour sign, common sense would say follow the detour sign. Some people just says, no, I'm gonna be a rebel. I'm gonna go and don't know this road is gonna end, and I'm gonna fall into a ditch, and they keep on the road. That's a person that lacks common sense. Common sense is actually acknowledging the signs and reading the way they're supposed to go. The sign says go right here, and you'll not hit the ditch. Well, common sense tells them to take the common sense tells us, the regular person, to read the sign and go right because we understand the sign. But if a person is illiterate, see, there's another word. When a person is illiterate, they lack being able to see the signs of things happening. They lack the fact that it's getting cold outside, so they don't get a jacket. So they go outside and they get cold, or they freeze, they get frostbite because they lack common sense. So a person that falls in that ditch, he lacks common sense. They lack the sense of most common people.
But Black Cabinet, okay, I understand what you're saying, and it makes absolute sense. But like you said, most people don't have common sense now, because I don't think that most people have common sense. And I'm not, yes, I understand. Some people, they run outside without a coat, and then they wonder why they're cold. They want to look cute, whatever, and they freeze. Um, um, I was guilty of that. When I was younger, I'm so busy trying to look cute in my boots and everything, and it's 30 below zero. And my father, was telling me, you don't have any common sense. You're going to catch cold. Guess what? I got caught cold and I got sick. Next time I went out, I was not trying to look cute. I'm bundling up. So um, but nowadays, you have people who just do things and they say things. They just, it goes beyond the not putting on a coat. It goes beyond um, not following that detour sign, and getting stuck in a ditch. It goes to the point where, again, like I said, it's harmful and it could kill people. Would you agree or you disagree?
Oh no, I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, without the using of common sense today, you can literally, people literally do get killed off of not using common sense. I agree with you.
So, what do you think that is? Why do you think that people just, is it something that they're doing on purpose, Or do you think that they really don't have common sense?
I mean, I like how you asked that question because it's like, can someone do they have selective ignorance?
Well,
I
I mean,
mean,
right.
that's
I mean,
basically.
and that's basically, that's basically what I'm saying. To me, because every day when I do this podcast, and I know that some of my Shelby, and thank you for waiting um, patiently. When I do this podcast, and I know that some of my topics, can get heated, and some of them are funny, some of them, silly, whatever. But there are, you have people who make comments, and it's like you are saying, like, really? And I do believe that people do have selective ignorance. I do believe that some people know doggone well that there are certain things that you shouldn't do or shouldn't say, but they say it anyway. Is it more to convince other people, or more to convince yourself, or is it a cop out? I do believe that some people with common sense, and I like that term that you're using, selective ignorance. Black cabinet.
I didn't know if you were going back to me. No, you're no. I just um tell you, this topic is. I tell you, you can go so many different ways with this topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like and we use this, and we talked about this before. It's almost like if a person is if two people are having intercourse, right, and they're not using protection. I mean, it's common sense that if this person's been with someone else that's infected with something, you could possibly get it. Or it's common sense that if you were to actually, if you were to climax and I guess, do your thing inside of this person, it's common sense to know that you could possibly have a baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that'd be common sense. But then a person they act very shocked if she was to come back with a pregnancy test and say, I'm pregnant. They're like, what are you talking about? Well, the thing is, they didn't practice common sense when they were in the bed. And so because your failure to practice common sense while you're in the bed, guess what? Now, this is what you're subject to. So yeah, I think there's common sense that we use every single day. And then there's some people that you see do not use it every day. So I think common sense. I mean, the way we're talking about it, I think it's learned. Common sense is something that is learned because everybody doesn't use it, right? So I'm laughing because it's like, yo, I mean, house training teaches you common sense. So I'm really starting to think now that common sense is something that is something that can be learned, and not something that everyone it comes with. Like, how like you get a GI Joe, every GI Joe out of the box comes with certain things. I don't think we all come with the same thing anymore. I think we have to learn them now.
Okay. All right. All right. And Brian says, I think a lot of people are distracted by things that don't matter today. They're not even thinking about things, so common sense goes out the window, and it is very multi layered now. Shelby, welcome. Thank you for waiting patiently. But one thing that I'm going to tell y'all, when I came up with this topic with common sense, I was, Shelby and I were actually having a back and forth about common sense, and I knew that where I wanted to take it was a lot deeper, because it's just not the, like Black Cabinet said, you don't put on a coat. It is a like like Brina said, multi-layered. It's like common sense. You can go a lot of different ways, but you're still coming back to the same starting point, that people don't have common sense. Shelby, welcome again.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hold on, let me catch my composure.
You okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay.
I do think that I agree with Black Cabinet that common sense has to be taught. Some people have the knowledge to learn it, and some people do not. But I also agree that with something that you said about people saying things that just don't make sense, and you think to yourself whether or not that person you wonder to yourself whether or not that person was even taught common sense or if they just weren't there for the lesson.
But is common sense, but is common sense something that is taught, or is it just something that you innately must have? Is it just something that some people have and some people don't? Is common sense something that you can be taught? Because you can say something to somebody over and over and over and they just don't get it. So is it taught? Is it something that's learned, or is it something that you're born with?
I think certain things in common sense is taught. And then, certain things, excuse me, is like a given, like with the coat thing. I think, if you're cold, you put on a sweater. If that's to me, that's a common sense that you already have. But if I don't know, I just think that that's something that it's just certain things that you have to be taught on in common sense. But there are some things that you should just. I would think certain things that you just automatically know.
Okay, all right. Now, Brina says, I think it's both. The child doesn't know how not to run into the street, or a car will hit them unless you tell them, or they would learn the hard way and almost get hit. But Brina, are you teaching them common sense, or are you teaching them safety? So for something like that, is it common sense not to run into the street, or are you teaching them not to run into the street for their own safety because they could get hit by a car?
I think she means both on that.
Okay, but
because when they're little, you have to teach them not to do that. But it's common sense as they get older, they realize, oh, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get hit. That's
okay.
just like touching a hot stove. When you get older, you're like, hey, look, if I touch this, I'm going to get burned.
Okay.
All
right. A formal welcome to Juju, Power Girl, and Shorty. Welcome, welcome. I look at people, and I again, I have to go back to how I was raised. And my sister and I were raised in a household with two parents who, my mother and father would say to us, like, really? You're really going to do, you all are really going to do that, or you're really going to do that, whatever. And even, and now when my sister and I talk to each other, we, we're talking about certain things that are going on. And we'll just say, is it us? Is it us that we don't get it, or do they don't get it? And we're kind of always scratching our head like, that just doesn't make any sense. And I guess that's where, for me, when people don't have common sense, I have very little patience, because some things to me are just a given. To me, there are some things that people should just know. So I go back to Shelby and I say, once again, are there things that people should just know? Or am I taking it for granted that and assuming that people should know it?
I agree that they're, because I wonder the same thing sometimes. When there are some people that you can talk to, and you're like, do you really think that? And it's an issue whether you wonder if they have that distinct ability to know whether or not they're what I'm trying to say is not coming out correctly.
I understand understand what you're trying to say, and this is a topic that can go so many different ways. This is a topic that can go so many different ways, but so many times it's like I talk to people, and sometimes when they're talking, I literally have to say, I can't do this anymore because
Yes,
either the topic
exactly.
is so ridiculous, and to me it's like common sense is not popping, is not clicking in, and it's like I'm not practicing common sense because I'm continuing on with a discussion that should have stopped 10 minutes ago.
Right.
So am I the one that doesn't have common sense? Black cabinet, you
It- I like how you. I like how you flipped that and said maybe it's me, right? Maybe it's I'm the one.
I mean, but
So
seriously,
I
but
was
I'm constantly doing that. My sister and I, we constantly do that because we are constantly going, is it us? Is it that we don't get it? So,
well, so I was as you and Shelby were going back and forth. I swear I started thinking about one of my psychology classes, right? Learning and behavior, one of my favorite, right? And talking about learning and behavior, how we learn and store it in our memory. And the thing is, we all learn something, but the only way you could truly store something in your memory is when you learn something by an event that might change what you learned or reinforce what you learned. And maybe that person haven't had enough events to actually change it. Me and my family, we used to go all the time and watch. When I was stationed in Oklahoma, we would go to Oklahoma City for New Year's, and the first time we went for New Year's, we didn't bundle up or bring any blankets, right? So the second year, we were a little bit smarter. We started bringing blankets and everything, and then it was almost like the third year I was in Oklahoma and we went to Oklahoma City. We started packing everything because our learned behavior from the first event to the second event, how more comfortable is, how to make yourself more comfortable that as it was there. So now it's if you forgot something, say now you can look at each other, and even though you might not say outside of it, but everybody within it, you can say, man, that's common sense. It's common sense to bring a jacket because you know it's gonna be cold. We were here last year, we were here the year before. It's common sense to bring a jacket. So that sense that's common is within the group of people that we're with. That's where it becomes a common sense.
okay,
And so
well,
now, go
oh,
ahead.
okay, no, I was just gonna say. So the first time you went though, but if you don't know, if okay, if you're going to Oklahoma City, and let's just say you think the weather is going to be nice and warm, and you don't need that jacket, is that lacking common sense because you didn't know?
No, and saying and that's what I was saying. I think common sense is formed and is learned throughout the events that helps you to understand them. Because now it's every single time we go, we bring extra stuff to make sure we're gonna be warm. And so now, if one of us within our group doesn't do it, now we can all look like them and say, "Man, that's common sense." Might not be sense to everybody else, but within us in this group, it's common sense to bring a jacket. And so I think you carry that common sense with you amongst the groups you're with. And that goes in everything. So when you look at someone that says, "Man, that's common sense," it's only common because you and I we've been through this. So now I could tell you that's common sense. But for someone who's never been through it, how can I tell them it's common sense when they never been through it, so they never experienced that event? And so now common sense, now we just broaden the definition of common sense to be a sense that's only common amongst people in the shared environment or shared experience to make it common sense. If there's no shared environment and there's no shared experience, I can't tell someone that they lack something that they just don't know.
Okay, all right. So let me take it to another level. Is it common sense not to say certain things to certain people? You know, like if someone tells you something, you know what you should say and what you shouldn't say, type thing. Is that common sense?
That's a great question. It took me a while to finally stop asking whether they're older women or younger women to stop asking them their age.
Okay,
I mean,
let's talk about that for a moment. Why is it that society says that you should not ask a woman her age, but people ask men all the time? Well, maybe not all the time, but they tend to ask a man or a male faster what their age is as opposed to a woman. Why is it common sense not to ask a woman her age? I mean, what's the big deal? I'm just throwing it out there.
No, you're right. I don't know,
I
and
mean,
that's the thing.
honestly,
So
because
for me,
I don't know either. I don't know. So,
but I was chastised. I was chastised for doing it for so long. You're not supposed to ask women their age. You're not supposed to ask women. So now I just don't do it because now within me in my own mind, man, it's common sense not to ask women their age. Or if you see a, or even if you see a woman with a slight small stomach, it's you just don't ask them. Now I've learned through mistake that you don't ask them how many months are you, because sometimes they're not even pregnant. I'm just saying,
Black
it's
Cabinet
happened to me
and
twice.
Black Cabinet, you just said something. Shy Lady just popped in here, and she knows exactly what I'm going to say. When we worked at this
Uh
one
oh.
telecommunications company, I saw this one girl, and I still know her name. And Shy Lady and I, we still laugh at this. Um, I see she's over here laughing because she knows exactly what I'm going to say. There's this one girl who every time I saw her, she looked pregnant, and I'm like, when is she going to have this baby? So we're on the elevator one day, during lunch hour. So the elevators are crowded, and I asked her, when are you due? I'm not pregnant. And that taught me right there and then, do not ever ask anybody if they're pregnant. And Charlie's like, yes, I'm laughing. And I'm telling you, it was like this. It's like, and it never occurred to me that she was something other than pregnant. So Black
So
Cabinet,
I have a question.
yeah.
No, so my question to you is it common sense not to ask people if they're pregnant now?
You know what? You know what? I do believe that it is common sense not to ask people if they're pregnant. I also think it's common sense not to ask people, why don't you have children? When are you, when are you all going to have kids? Whatever. Because um, being someone who went through the whole in vitro thing, that just used to bug me up to the last thing. Because it was like, there are certain things to me you just don't ask people because you don't know what their situation is. And for us to, I mean, that's why we only have one child, you know, um, but at the same time, you don't know if someone has lost a child. You don't know if it's, a miscarriage, whatever. And I think that family members, the mothers, the fathers, the grandmothers, whatever, need to back off, um, especially them, in asking, when are you going to have kids? So I do believe that there is common sense there. And did I have common sense when I asked this girl? Nope. Did I learn from it? Yep. But Black Candid, coming back to you, and even Shelby, I don't know why you don't ask women how old they are. I mean, that right there, I don't know. I have no idea why. Yes, Shy Lady.
De-
Everyone did think she was pregnant.
I'm gonna definitely Google that later to find out why don't you ask women their age, to see just what the answer is.
I'm gonna Google
But
that
no,
thing.
but like you just said, just like me, I've learned because of those events, I learned common sense. Those are those things that you learn. Another thing that's common, I think someone said it earlier. I believe it was, is it Bria that said it? Brina? I believe she said it earlier that there's both ways you could do it, because I think just like children, there's things that they learn by watching us. By watching us every single day, they learn. So what happens is learn behaviors is also common sense. What not to do. I think those are learned things. So I think the stove is hot. You learn not to put your hand on the stove. I mean, it's something that happens. But you also learn things by watching people. You can watch people do something wrong, and you can learn, I'm not gonna do what that person just did. And so that sense is now jogged into your memory, and now it becomes, like I said, I think common sense becomes a learned universal, like he said earlier, a learned universal encoding that we all now know what it is. So it's like when you look at me and I look at you, and let's just say if we're like downtown somewhere together and someone did something, you and I would look at each other like, yeah, that was common sense, because we both have a universal learned thing that happened or event that now we know not to do it. But is it to say that everybody has been exposed? Then that way, no, everybody has not been exposed.
Okay, I'm going to go here. Welcome, the only crazy lady. Welcome. Crazy lady says, "Why do they call it common sense when it really isn't common sense?" Um, we're going to talk about that some more. Shelby, so you have a couple of things to say because I'm about to go somewhere that some people may not want me to go because I'm going back to yesterday's episode and then I'm going to go back a little bit more. So Shelby, you want to comment before I take us down memory lane?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so yesterday we were just talking about what friendship was, whatever, and then I was the one that brought it up where I said, don't call me B word, don't call me the N word, whatever. So I want to ask that, and then Crazy came on, and she basically was saying that when people set boundaries, then you don't cross them. So is it common sense that when people tell you don't do something and you do it, then whatever repercussions that come your way, oh well?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
Okay.
I also agree.
Okay. So then that means that if those repercussions become physical, is the person who is reacting because you told them not to do a certain thing and they did it anyway, are they overreacting, or was it again going back to common sense? You never should have done this in the first place.
I mean, that's just man.
Okay, ask that again.
If I am so tempted to say this because this person KTMZ, I am so tempted to say what Crazy says on her show, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Welcome KTMZ, whatever. Come back when you have a real name. I love when she does that. So, so anyway, I'm sorry, I was tempted to say that. Okay, so if if a person has set boundaries, if a person has set boundaries and they go against your boundaries and the person you're going against reacts in a negative or physical way, is that person overreacting, or did you not exercise common sense because you should have respected those boundaries in the first place?
And in my realm with that, I don't know if it's common sense at that point. I think it's a shared sense that if okay, it's like my mom, right? My mom used to leave uh one piece of cheesecake in the refrigerator when I was younger. That was her piece of cheesecake, but I like cheesecake. And after time, I would start taking small pieces or bites of that cheesecake. Sometimes she would not notice. Sometimes she noticed. Sometimes she'd be like, "Who been in my cheesecake? Not me, yeah, but not me." And maybe she thought she was eating her own cheesecake. I don't know, but the thing is, I would do that. But the thing is, so it was common sense of me and my brother not to touch the cheesecake. But if my cousin had actually came over and he ate my mom's cheesecake, not understanding the consequences and repercussions, and if my mom got on my cousin, I would think it's overreacting because they didn't understand the rules of the cheesecake. But for me and my brother, we understood the rule of the cheesecake. So we knew that you don't touch mom's cheesecake. So for us, it was common sense amongst me, my brother, my sister. Common sense, don't touch mom's cheesecake. That's hers. But a cousin comes over and eats it. My mom would be like, if my mom, gave them discipline at the time, we would say, "Mom, you overreacted," because they did not understand the rules of your cheesecake. But for all of us other people, it's common sense. So I think it goes like that. If there's a shared sense between the two people that understand it, then it's common sense. But if there's not no shared responsibility of anyone outside the group, how can we exercise anything that's common when it's not common? My cousin comes over. It's not common to him not to eat what's in the refrigerator. He just thinks that he could go to the refrigerator and eat my mama's cheesecake. Mama come out, who ate my cheesecake? And we all point at him, and she would probably be like, okay, I understand. Because my mom understood the shared sense.
Okay,
But now she come out, who ate?
but
Go
okay,
ahead.
but if you're but you're talking about something. Okay, that I understand, but I'm saying for things that are just common sense again, things you just don't do, like names you like. People are saying freedom of speech, freedom of speech. You know, everybody should have freedom of speech. Is it common sense not to say certain things?
Yeah, you can't say bomb on an airplane.
You know, and again, so if you say that and you get arrested again, is it, you know, I come back to the whole common sense that there's just, you know, there are, I mean, you can say whatever you want to people. You can say, people can say whatever they want to somebody, but is it common sense to tread lightly around certain things when you know you should tread lightly, but you choose not to? And this is where Black Cabinet, earlier you were saying the selective ignorance thing. You know, you're choosing not to tread lightly, and you end up with a butt whooping.
That's called consequences and repercussions.
So you don't think that is common sense?
That's consequences and repercussions
Okay,
to
all right,
obeying the
all right. I'm gonna go over to Crazy Lady. Thank you for waiting so patiently. And I said, you know, you said don't call me a liar or a thief. Those are fighting words. So Crazy Lady, you have the mic.
Yeah, and the whole common sense, like, okay, if you're told about something, right, beforehand, and you choose to, blatantly ignore that, when the consequences roll around, don't be crying. You know, don't be crying because your little princess hat fell off or whatever. That's the way I look at it. If people set their boundaries, and if you break that boundary, be prepared for the action of or the consequences of your action. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Okay, so was that person not exercising common sense? I mean, okay,
Well, yeah,
because
they're cool.
well,
And especially if you were told.
okay, so again, this is where I come down to the learned behavior and you know, things that you should know. So if you go to a different country or you're around someone, you know, of a different culture, and like for instance, I did not know until I had guests years and years and years and years and years and years ago from Israel, you know, that when they were like, you know, I need a fag. I was like, what? But in Israel, a fag is a cigarette.
Yeah.
So when you're around people, if you're around different cultures who are doing things and you say things that we would deem, and this is going back to yesterday's show, that we would deem rude, whatever, is it common sense if someone is around like?
Yeah, no, that's when you explain yourself,
So is
But
it?
then it becomes
So should we go? So if we travel to another country, should we do our due diligence and do our homework and things that we should say or should know and do, or should we learn as we go? Is it common sense for us to do our homework before we go to another country?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
All right.
Well, to me, I think it depends on what type of homework we're talking about. Should I be schooled up on all their laws?
Well,
It depends on what laws.
You don't want to go to another country and do something that's like totally offensive to that culture. You really don't want to do that. So you kind of want to brush up on what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we did that. We did a lot of cultural awareness trainings on certain things about not showing the bottom of your foot in certain places. Also, how to shake hands, how you're not, even in places like in Iraq before they were more liberated.
Military,
Not yeah, not we had
right?
classes. Yeah, we had classes on how not to walk up and address women and things like that. So we had a lot of cultural awareness classes, especially if we're gonna go out on the town, or should I say on the street, and do some type of key leader engagements. So yeah, we learned those things. But what I mean is, if I'm on my way to if I'm on my way to Amsterdam, right, and I'm leaving from the United States, and I'm just going to Amsterdam, um, and somewhere in Germany, I might look at certain customs, but I'm not gonna look up every single little thing I need to know about that place. There's some things you're just not gonna know because it goes back to something. Some things are just common sense. It's kind of funny. You got to find out know what is common sense, right?
All right. All right. Brendan says it's really important to read up on the country you're visiting. I think it's common sense to know to inform yourself. Yes, we should do our due diligence prior. And she says just study up on anything that might get you locked up or effed up. Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay, is it and Black Adam, you said that you're not going to you don't it's realistic to look up every single thing, but like Brina says, should we have exercise, especially being an American nowadays where nobody likes us? That we should look up some of their laws that don't get us locked up, even if it's something as simple as you know, um, remember years and years ago that boy went to Malaysia and he littered, and he was put in jail, and it was this whole big thing about letting him return to the United States. And they say, yeah, you can have him back after he is caned. And they were like, no, he's an American citizen. You can't. Well, he was in Malaysia. He littered on the streets. Our rules are if you litter, you get caned. Oh, he went back to the U.S., but he was caned 10 times. So should we do something and look it up to make sure we don't get locked up? Because to me, you shouldn't litter anywhere, period. Black Cabinet?
I'm just laughing because the only thing I could really kind of get as a parallel is if and times have changed and common sense has changed. I'm only 44. I can say my age. I'm only 44. But there was a time when I was younger, even though it might not seem anyone that's older, but there was a time when your neighbor could give you a licking, and it was okay for your mom, and then you'll go home and your dad or mom would finish you off for doing something bad. Um, but nowadays, if my son did something to like the neighbor's gate, I expect the neighbor to bring me my son so I could discipline them in my way, right? And so, the way I felt about that situation, I understand that he broke their laws, he had to get caned, and but for him, it wasn't littering wasn't common sense because in America, littering was to a point where I mean, come on, look how bad we've gotten. I mean, if you're getting a car and you have a wrapper, you just throw your wrapper out now. You don't even put your wrapper in your pocket no more.
I put my
You have
wrapper in my
cigarette butts.
pocket. I do not litter.
Well,
Well, anyway,
I'm
go
saying
ahead.
I'm just saying, but there's a lot of people that do. A lot of people, they'll smoke their cigarette, just throw their butt on the ground. They don't put it in the trash no more. So a lot of us could go up. A lot of us could get that cane, and if we went, if we went there today, I'm just saying, and I say a lot of us. I mean us as American people that go over there.
Mm-hmm.
We can all get that. We could get that whip. But I'm just saying. But on the surface of it, it was like when he broke that. I think America should have the way I think it should have. I think that person should have really been um, uh, reprimanded here in America, but and in America pay something to that country. Now I don't know what the dollar amount, but they pay something to them for only greater than or I mean equal to or greater than the offense, and then let that person come over here where they can be handled by our government by shaming us. So if my daughter goes next door and she shames me in front of the neighbor, my neighbor can't touch my child. but let me shame my child for what they did. So that's how I look at the caning thing.
Well, wait. So you think that that Malaysia should have just sent? Yeah, and if I'm correct, the boy was like 16 years old.
Yeah, very young.
And if I remember, his parents were just like, "What's the big deal?" Whatever. But when you look at, and it even started a debate about litter, because Malaysia was like, "Look at our streets and look at yours." And you look around at America, and it's horrible. It's like we live in a cesspool, but over there they have very clean streets. You go to Japan, and you go to China, and we talk about these countries who have these rules and what have you. And yes, some of them may seem harsh, but when you look around, it's like, well, they have, maybe we should start doing this, if whatever. But I believe that if you are in another country and you do something wrong, then then this is what you get. I mean, this is what happens if you are someone visiting here and you do something wrong, then you get reprimanded by American laws. Why should that boy have been sent home? To what would have happened? He would have come home, and the government just would have said, well, next time you all go someplace, don't do it, and it would have been done. And if I recall, because this happened years ago, if I recall, that boy stayed in Malaysia. They would not let that boy come home. It was like he was there for like a month or two, until it was like, he can go home, but he's going to get punished first. And they finally relented. He got caned 10 times, and they let him go home. I see nothing wrong with that, because common sense.
But we are I can say we as Americans, whenever I say we, and I speak about Americans, we see things in such a different way. We are on any local national, we are actually softer on local nationals, which everyone else is harder on Americans. And if you see that abroad, that's just how it is. People are harder on Americans who do wrong in their countries, because it's almost like their badge of honor to either disgrace or embarrass an American that they have a chance to do it and it be legal. But whenever it's a local national that America's dealing with a local national, we don't dish out the same punishment.
But Black Captain, but that's our fault. That is our fault, because I don't think that people over in other countries are being hard on Americans necessarily to diss on us. It's the fact that we are very arrogant. We go to other countries and say, why don't you speak English? Well, why don't you speak French? Why don't you speak Spanish? Why don't you speak, it's like we always demand other people to bend to us, but we don't want to respect what's going on in their country. So I'm sorry, the boy got caned. So go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted again. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You came in at a natural break. That's fine. I just wish that we as a nation would dish out the same thing that's given to us. That's all I'm saying. We are, like I said, we are just so easy on everyone else, and we are hard on we allow people to be hard on us in ways that you can't even that you can't even describe. Even in our local, in our system, when we find out that a person's local national, we go through all the proper channels. We try and handle it with the embassy. We make sure that they have some type of representation and everything else. But for us, oh man, let me do something in like Australia. Yeah, my family might not get a phone call from me. They might think that something happened. I got kidnapped or dead after about a month before I even get a phone call. I'm just saying. When it comes to us, they don't deal with us the same way we deal with them. We give them all the different foreign national treatment, and we get what we call the American treatment. So anywhere we go, you're an American, you do something bad, they're ready to do you dirty.
Well, see, and that's when I come back to is common sense. You need to exercise your common sense. That don't go over there doing something dirty or bad, whatever, because like you said, we don't get the American treatment. So let me just read some of these comments before I get behind. Charlotte says, Black Cabinet, I agree. Many of Americans throw trash anywhere. I literally saw a man parked next to me near a garbage can near the shopping carts and literally tosses McDonald's garbage on the ground. We can talk a lot about that one. Crazy Lady says, because most Americans are disrespectful in foreign countries. A formal welcome to Crazy. Let's see. Common Sense. So again, common sense. Don't go someplace and act crazy. And Crazy, we were talking about the boundaries. Common sense, you go against those boundaries, you're gonna get whatever comes to you. Shelby.
Yes, I have something to say.
I know you have something to say.
Okay, we're talking about people in other countries, Americans in other countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to say something about this situation. And I'm sorry if this offends anyone. I'm going to say that foremost. But what about that basketball player that was caught with, what is it, that
You talking about
CBD or whatever?
Brittany Griner.
Yes, in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And she was put in their jail or whatnot. She was all up in arms over there, but would she have not been caught doing the same thing here, she probably would not, one, have gotten put in jail over here because of her status being a basketball player.
Yeah.
But I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think that it was done, the whole situation was done wrong in the simple fact that a veteran was not brought home first. But in the simple fact, like I said, because of her status over here, nothing was done to her. Because, they had to have seen it when she went over there. Did she not have it on her and they checked her bags before she left? So is that not considered common sense on her part when she was coming back home and had it on her?
Can I respond to that?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes,
now,
go ahead.
Juju says she had a license to carry that. And Shiley says she was stupid and she didn't respect the rules of that country. Good point, Shelby. It was political. And Brina says, I'm convinced that she fit an agenda. Our trade made no sense. And Juju says to Shiley, I agree with your comment. Okay. So with Brittany Griner, I think that it was absolutely ridiculous of her to, she may have had a license to carry, but she had a license to carry over here, not over there. So I don't care if you have a doctor's prescription, whatever. I'm not taking drugs anywhere out of the country. I'm just not going to do it. But in terms of bring a veteran home, that veteran was put up for. I'm sorry if I'm saying it this way, but they were willing to exchange him during the previous administration. They were told no. So when Brittany Griner, when all that stuff happened with her, it came at a time where the war started, and I believe that she was used as a pawn, whatever. They were trying to get this guy, the person that they traded for, this drug dealer, whoever that Russian guy was. The Russians had been wanting him back for a while. And again, they had asked the previous person to trade whatever, and they said no. They were not going to trade him. I think because the war, if the war had not been going on, Brittany Griner would still be there. And they did try to bring home 2 people. They said no. They were not letting they were not letting that man go. Period. So it's not so much as that a vet, whatever. I think it's just the fact that with everything that's going on and how much Putin cannot stand, or I'm gonna get blocked on YouTube, whatever, so common sense was she should have left it here, but now we were in a situation that was, you all want somebody, you're going to take who we're going to give you, and it was her.
Okay.
Well, I beg to differ on small parts of what you said.
Okay.
Um, I think it's more backwards. If a war was not going on, I don't think that they would have gave her as much years to try and leverage a trade. She because if you look at prior to the war, there was another lady who was actually distributing a large amount of marijuana who got a slap on the wrist. So I think her status did play that she was a gold. She had two gold medals with the United States, and she was now used as as a leveraging piece. So I think that actually her being a superstar actually hurt her in that regards, not helped her. As far as the soldier that we're talking about, you're talking about a soldier with a bad conduct discharge. Bad conduct discharge means that this person's not a vet. Just so you guys know, this the rules. You are not a veteran with a bad conduct or unhonorable discharge. He was a bad conduct discharge. Stole money from the U.S. government. Had a bad conduct discharge. The guy had citizenship in 4 different countries. Canada. I think it was Canada. Um, was oh man, Canada, British, and Ireland. The guy had 4 different citizenships. Why didn't any of them other places try and get him out? And so, one, he doesn't even fit the veteran status. He's a bad conduct discharge, and he's someone that he went over there to be a spy to make money himself. So why are we trying to sit there and leverage and say let's get him out when he already decided his own fate and he wanted to go that direction? So for me, as a 21-year Army veteran, he's not a soldier to me. And if soldiers feel that he is a soldier, then why ain't soldiers in the street picketing to try and get him back? That's how bad of a dishonorable discharge he was. That the own Marines wasn't even asking for him back. So when people are sitting there talking about, oh my God, we gotta get that soldier out. No, he didn't deserve to get out. He disgraced our country. He disgraced our military, and he is not a soldier by all definitions. He has citizenship in other places. Why ain't all them other places fighting for him back? Because nobody else wants him back. We all just looking at his American citizenship, but what about the citizenships in Canada and everywhere else? They're not even fighting for him back. As far as Brittany Griner, she was just used as a pawn. I do not believe that what she had instituted that charge. Yeah, it's up to those years, and they gave her maximum amount of years. I mean, who on any one offense anywhere gets maxed out years on one offense?
Okay, but
And
okay,
that's in America or anywhere else.
okay, but at this, okay, I understand what you're saying, but with her, and I'm not even gonna say her. I'm just gonna say the place that she went, and the fact of our relationship with that particular place. To me, it's just common sense that whether you're that Army person, whether you're Brittany Griner, whether you're anybody, just don't do it. Don't do it. Just whatever you did, just don't do it. And considering the relationship that we have with these people, I'm not surprised that she got the harshest thing. I'm not surprised. I mean, we can say, well, who gets that? Well, like you said, we get the American treatment. We get the American treatment. So again, common sense is if you go over to certain places or anywhere, as far as I'm concerned, you leave your paraphernalia at home. I don't care if you have illegal stuff to carry, you have it to carry here, but not anywhere else. And I know Shelby wants to comment.
All right, so,
I'm sorry, go ahead, because I know Shelby wants to make a comment on what you were saying.
So real quick, so if I have Oxycontin, right, oxycodone for migraines or for a traumatic brain injury, if I have Oxycontin and I have a prescription from my doctor, and I go to another foreign place with my prescription, I should not be able to use my prescription that keeps my traumatic brain injuries down.
I'm not saying that you should. No, I'm not saying that. I mean, but technically, yes, you should be able to take it. But I'm just saying, but that other country may look at it as a hard drug, whatever, because you don't know what the other person's going to do. That's what I'm saying.
Right. But hold on. Remember, she was not going there for a visit. She was actually going there to live now.
Mhm.
So having a prescription and going somewhere to live, most people take 6 months of their prescription with them. She didn't even have that much. I'm saying most people take a lot of their prescriptions when they're going somewhere to live. Remember, American women, and this is a whole nother conversation. Women that play basketball in America don't get paid the percentage that they should get
Of
paid. I'm
course
not trying to
not.
say
Of
she get
course
paid as
not.
much as the men. They're not getting paid percentage points the same. So she was going to Russia to play basketball for them. So it was not like she was going over there to just say, "Hey, I'm gonna go bring some drugs over there." No, she was actually going over there to actually live there amongst them and play on their team. She had that marijuana pen, I guess one little pin of it, whatever it might be, the pin of it, and that's what happened.
And that's why
I
I'm
think we
saying
got
that she was used, that she was, that what her
used as a
situation
pawn.
was, it was a perfect opportunity, because you have the war is going on and what have you. And this is where I'm saying that whether or not she was going over there to live or not, or whatever reason it was, my thing is you still have to practice some sort of common sense. I understand what you're saying about, so if you have your prescription and you're taking this and that, whatever, again, I would do my due diligence and say, look, I'm coming over here, I'm gonna have this and this and this and this and this. I mean, because they're, to me, even if they said, oh, okay, that's fine, I would still be hesitant, because some of these countries, you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know. And to me, I'm saying practice common sense, just on the side of it, of it may not work out. So Shelby, go ahead, because I know you've been wanting to comment.
I think in that situation, I agree. She should have went or had her doctor or whatever. If she had a prescription for this, she should have had somebody that, of good standing, go to the government and say, look, she has to have this for a such and so reason. Whether it be for a medical reason or whatever have you that she had it for, she should have went to that particular government. If she was going over there to live, to play basketball, she should have had somebody on her side as an advocate to go to that government and say, look, this is what's going on. This is what she's doing. That way that would have never happened, in my opinion. I mean, to me, that is common sense. You have to be proactive in yourself, because somebody else is not going to be proactive for you.
Okay. And I just want to read what Shy Lady says. Shy Lady says, I always believed she was a pawn, and she should have done it, or she shouldn't have done it. I think Brittany took her status for granted. DMAX says this wasn't her first time in Russia. She had more scrutiny this time. And Juju says Granite had been found with vape cartridges containing hashish oil. So welcome, Mr. B, and welcome, Tim Booseville. Okay, so again, it's like, when does common sense kick in, and when does it just go by the wayside? Because again, whether you're talking about putting on that coat, like we talked about at the very beginning, putting on that coat when it's cold outside, or something like going to another country, you litter, you get punished by their punishment, or going and you get put in jail, whatever. Because to me, I don't care who you are in America. If you go to another country and do something wrong, for me, my way of thinking is you're always going to get the worst punishment. If they say you're going to go work in a minefield for the next 20 years, that's what I expect you are going to do, no matter what you did, no matter how much you had, whatever. I always expect the worst, especially in certain countries. Black Cabinet.
I was gonna say I just don't think that her situation falls under common sense, because because I don't think a lot of us would operate under that same sense. That's why I say I don't think it's a common thing. I think common sense is something like we all talked about earlier, something that all of us know, and it's something widely known, how to react and act to certain situations, to make something a common sense scenario. I just don't think that the Brittany Griner situation was actually more common sense. I think it was, and like I said, it's hard for us common people. We're all common people here on this live. It's hard for us common people to actually understand the political climate that is happening in Russia and the relationships with America and the conflicts that's going on in the world. I don't think we all have wherewithal to understand what's going on, the treatment and everything else. We all sit there and say, well, she deserves this. We don't know what the treatment is, and until we all understand the treatment and how you're actually going to be treated there, I don't think any of us at any time can understand. And me, as a humanitarian, I don't think any of us should actually dictate anybody's human rights or human rights that are being violated, to be part of common sense, because common sense would mean that you treat a prisoner a certain way. Remember, people and jails are political, prisons political, and the way people are being treated in certain places, allowing man to actually um, rape women and things like that. We must understand that she's an American, and that should be first and foremost. But then she's also an individual, a person.
But
So I'm just saying we tend to judge others by their worst attributes, and we judge ourselves by our best. And that's what we do. We sit there and say they made a mistake. We don't judge them by their best. We always judge them by their worst,
but
and we
okay,
do that with everybody that doesn't align with us.
okay. This is Shiley's second time saying that she thinks that Brittany took her status for granted. Okay, Black Cat, I have a problem with the whole I'm an American thing, because again, it's that arrogance there. So because I'm an American, I should be able to do this, or I should be treated this way. And I'm not talking about in America. I'm talking about in another country. Because I'm an American, well then therefore, you should treat me, you know, um, uh, a certain way. What does her being an American have to do with anything if she broke the law? Whether or not we think that it was a lot of stuff that she had, and I'm not even just talking about her. I'm talking about anyone. If you go somewhere and again you go over, I mean, if you come into my house, okay, and you have a permit to carry a gun, I'm going to get pissed if you come into my house with that weapon because you're not telling me that you have it. I don't want to hear, well, I have a license to carry, but you're coming into my house. If we're at the park, okay, fine. So do I not have the right to say, my house, my rules? Black Cabinet?
No, I think it's a human issue, a humanity issue. That's what I'm saying. Not even that it's American. I'm talking about when American people talk against it. I just say remember that person does have citizenship with us. That's what I mean by American, not an arrogance thing.
But what,
And
okay, but
taking it
even
for
if she
granted.
has
No, but hold
citizenship,
on,
but she's not in this country, or that
no,
person is not in
what
this
I'm
country.
but yes, but what I'm saying is again, like I'm saying, everyone should be treated with decency and humanity, no matter where you're at.
You're right.
And that's what I'm getting at. The fact that people are saying, I mean, if you go to Twitter and go look at what people are saying that they hope she was getting, actually, because we understand that she is a open lesbian athlete. People were saying that they was hoping that she was getting raped while she was there. People
No,
were
no,
literally
that's
saying
no,
that
that
on
no.
Twitter.
I
No, but
no,
but
I saw some of those comments on Twitter, and it was, I mean, that's disgusting. But I'm
and that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. People are saying, when people are saying she deserved that, when people are saying she deserved to be in prison there, that's what people are saying, that they did, that she deserved. People aren't just saying that she should go in front of court and serve time when we don't understand what time looks like. People are literally saying she deserved whatever happens to her, and that's what I mean. You're trying to say for a vape pen she deserves to have her human rights violated. That's how deep it goes. So when
But when
people are
you
saying
say
stuff
human,
about this
okay,
and
but
that,
okay,
uh,
but I'm just saying. Hold on for a second. D-Max says common sense is uncommon. Common sense is relative. What's common sense to me is different than to you. Yes, Maria, that was terrible. And Crazy Lady says, or the humanity part, I agree. The basic civil rights of a human. And again, I agree with that. I'm just saying that when you go over to another country, whether or not we believe that everyone should be treated with decency or whatever, you don't know what is going to happen to another when you are there. And just like Brenda said um, earlier, do your due diligence on what some of the laws are so you don't get locked up. We know that, being locked up for a vape pen, it is ridiculous. But I'm just saying, if in another country, you don't know how they're going to respond.
and I no, I ag- no, I trust me. I agree with everything you're saying. When you sit there and say, hey, when a person says when you break the rules of another country, what I'm saying is that our UN and people should have been involved to make sure that she at least got care while she was there. That's all I'm getting at. I'm not trying to sit there and say that, hey, she was convicted in the court of law, do your 9 years, whatever. I'm not saying that part. Hey, that part, okay. If you want to say she went to court and she got 9 years and that's what the court gave her, okay, I got it. But what I'm trying to say is the basic human protections that she should get. That's all I'm getting at. Is
Okay.
that a lot of our own humanity was checked during that time when we had human beings on Twitter saying the things that they were saying all the bad stuff they were saying about her, hoping that would happen to her. That's what I'm trying to say. Their humanity. Now that's not common sense. Common sense is the hope that. See, I think common sense is the hope that the homeless person next to you gets a meal. That's common sense. Common sense is, to me, I think that's common sense. But when we're rooting and hoping that her basic human rights are violated, I think we've now left from a common sense thing to a human rights situation. And I think a lot of our common sense, like D-Max said, it wasn't common to everybody, because at that point everyone thinks that if you go to jail, they don't care what you went to jail for. It could be something. You remember, people are in jail for violent acts and non-violent acts, but everyone thinks that just because the person been to jail that they're the worst person ever. And that's what I'm saying.
Okay, and I understand that. I understand that, and I do not think that. I do not think that just because someone went to jail that they are the worst person ever. I don't think that at all. I'm just saying one thing. When you go over to another country, there is that big possibility that if you have something that is considered illegal, you may want to leave it at home. That's all I am saying, because you don't know how they're going to treat you. Now, I'm going to ask this, and then I'm going to start wrapping it up because I'm past my hour. So you brought up Black Cabinet. You brought up the thing about citizenship and being treated, whatever. Um, and he says yes, this should make people do research. So I'm gonna go to the Shanquilla Robinson thing. Do you think that these 6 people should be tried here in the US? Or do you think that they should be tried in Mexico, where her parents want them to be tried, and hope that they are convicted and that they spend the rest of their lives in a Mexican prison as opposed to a US prison, which would probably treat them a little better? So
I'm not I'm not aware of what you're talking about. Can you give me a quick background if you don't mind?
okay, all right. See, this
I'm sorry.
no, no, no,
I'm
no,
like, when you
no,
said
no,
Shaquilla
no,
Robinson, I
no,
said, what
no.
happened?
This is just a story that when people say they don't know about it, it frustrates me that it took Black Twitter and Black YouTube to even get this to where it is now, because it's just not in the mainstream, and it's just such a every day when stuff comes out about this story, it just gets worse and worse. Um, 6 friends went to Cabo in Mexico with another person by the name of Shanquilla Robinson, who 25 years old. She was a successful businesswoman. Every time they met in college, every time they went someplace, she paid for everything. And this particular trip, she was paying $1,300 a night for them to be in this villa. Um, uh, while there, um, after it was barely 24 hours, she was beaten to death by her friends. Her best friend,
I'm reading it right now.
Her best friend was filming it, and this was a guy who went on vacations with her and her family. But the video got leaked, and they all went home, took her luggage, her phone, and everything, and returned them to her parents, even though they still don't have everything, and said that she died of alcohol poisoning. And the more and more stuff comes out, when the medical people finally arrived and they finally called, they resisted, kept saying no, she doesn't need to go to the hospital, she doesn't need to the hospital, and she was probably dead then, whatever. But now Mexico wants to extradite them back to Mexico. So my question is, just because they were U.S. citizens, they did the crime in Mexico, shouldn't they be tried in Mexico? And if they're found guilty, they stay in Mexico and they do their time.
Oh wow, that's I'm just getting abreast on that. That's a good question. I know you're winding up, so I guess I'll make my last comment with this. Um, wow, it just seems like a tragedy. Um, I'm gonna say we have to go with the law of the land. If the law of the land is people get tried where they did it, then they need to go back, get tried where they did it, and let justice. And until they come up with some way to, like I was talking about earlier, I think they should probably be extradited back to Mexico, let them be tried in Mexico, and let justice happen in Mexico. Uh, not even caring about citizenship unless they change something like that where citizenship should be done and there's in their place, then okay. But then I think they should, just like Brittany Griner, they should be extradited back to where they're from, and they should actually face the charges there, and face the music. I mean, wow, because that's a tragedy that what happened to her.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying with Brittany Griner, just with anyone, no matter how small or large the crime is. When you go to another country, if you get caught, expect to be treated the way they're going to treat you in that country. And crazy lady, I know you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah. If you do that, yeah, I think, and you know what? I don't even think that there should be a discussion of whether we should hand those people over. No, because if it was the other way around, we'd be asking them to fucking bring them back. Excuse my language, but yeah, you know, if she got killed over here and then they went to Mexico, our State Department would be up, all of us would be going, no, we want them extradited, blah blah blah, because we've done it before,
Mm-hmm.
extraditing,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you can agree with me, like Kevin, but um, I've I've traveled the world. I've like lived in other countries and stuff, and it's amazing that people in other countries, we can point out an American visiting their country, not even American talking by the way they behave, straight up.
Well, again, if I go to another country, I'm going to be respectful. And at the same time, there are some places that I would not go. I mean, Russia was one of the places that I wanted to go because I think that the architecture in Russia, that's the main reason I want to go. I want to see the architecture and everything in Russia because they have thousands and thousands and thousands of years of that. I want to go to China because China has thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I want to see stuff like that. But common sense is telling me stay home. So to me, again, it's like, to me, you exercise your common sense. For me, my common sense is telling me certain places I'm not going. There are certain people who I would not travel with. There are some, I mean, just like, there are certain people that you don't hang out with, you know, just common sense. So, Shelby, you want to have anything to say?
Yeah, and I'll put my end comments also. I agree. I think that if you do not do your due diligence to, examine what is, legal and not legal in the country that you're going to, the culture of the country that you're going to visit, then that is on you. Um, I think that, you're making a big mistake to yourself by not doing that. You're putting yourself up for failure. Um, but you know, it's a matter of common sense, not to do that. That's just like if you were going to go to, excuse me, if you were going to go to another state, you know, per se here in the United States, and you don't pay attention to the speed limit sign, and you go 75 where the speed limit's only 50, and you get pulled over, and they tell you, well, you were speeding, and well, I didn't see a speed limit sign when there clearly was one. I mean, it's just common sense to look, and pay attention. I think to me, that's just, the way it should go. You should really do your due diligence and pay attention.
Okay. All right. Crazy Lady says we went to East Germany. It was only 10 years. It was only a 10 hours pass, and we had to have an itinerary. Charlotte says, if I don't talk chat on the show before Christmas, everyone that celebrates Merry Christmas and God bless all. And Crazy Lady says, if memory serves me correct, we had to have one in Russia. We went to Moscow. So yeah. So everyone, I mean, I'm just saying that common sense, just certain things for me, that I practice. And if I were to go over to another country, or even when I travel, there are some things I just don't take. There are just certain things I just don't take. I may take it there, but I'm not going to take it here. I just wouldn't, so. And on that note, guys, I do want to tell you there will be no show tomorrow, but I will be doing a show on Thursday. But tomorrow is Wednesday, the 21st, and I will not be doing a show tomorrow. So on that note, does anybody else on my panel have anything they want to say?
Thank you so much for having me up. Thank you, Shelby, and thank you, the only crazy lady. It was great being up here. I hope I felt welcome, and I appreciate you for just giving me this space. And thank you. And I'm gonna miss you while you're gone, sister. From this, but we'll be talking. And wonderful show. Everyone in the comments, thank you. It was a great show today. I love the topic.
Well, thank you. And everyone, just so you know, Black Cabinet is going to be starting his own podcast on Podbean. So when is your first show? Is your first show tomorrow?
Actually, I've already done two. I did Monday and Tuesday and today. They're already up on there.
Okay.
If people don't know, I'm a Black history subject matter expert, and also I do study Indigenous history and also Latino history. So I'll be doing all that today. I actually did a show talking about the Will Smith's last movie that just came out called Emancipation, that was released last week, and I just basically did a review on the movie and how I thought about it. And so
Okay.
yeah,
All
they're
right.
actually posted on my page if you go look. So I appreciate everyone.
I will go and I will check it out. I will say though, I am not a Will Smith fan. Even before the Academy Awards, I've never been a Will Smith fan. Him and Tom Cruise, just can't get into those two guys. Well, welcome, Craig. All right, everyone. So that's it. Again, no show tomorrow. I will be back on Thursday. Thank you guys for coming. I know I went past my hour. I'm really trying to keep to an hour, but we had these this we got into deep today. We went deep into the whole common sense thing. So yeah. So formal welcome to Craig and Jester. Welcome, even though I am wrapping it up. And Mr. T, welcome to you too. So on that note, guys, I am going to leave you with a little bit of spy jazz, and I hope to see you on Thursday. And guys, that's it. That's the show. And I'll see you on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world, and go where the wind takes you. Bye.